One man, one legend. In a production brought to you by 金老师的四个大水上
张海源、
贝马子。
康罗汤。
任永永。
Bruce Lee was born in San Francisco at the Jackson Street Hospital. Today there hangs a plaque on the wall of the hospital to honor the legend. He was born the year of the dragon, perhaps fitting for the success and prosper in his life. He was born among 4 other children and parents that were well versed in show business. Since Mr. and Mrs. Lee were on tour with the opera company at the time, he was born in America. While Jun Fan was his real name, Bruce was the name given to him by the nurse that worked at the Jackson Street Hospital. He returned to Hong Kong where he would be raised until he was 18. He was raised in the World War II days where soldiers would be commonly found walking the streets. This caused ethnic tension in Hong Kong, and English schoolboys would usually try to pick a fight with him. He would get into fights with them, and he paved the way for his start in martial arts at the age of 13. He began to make a streak in high school, winning boxing championships and even cha-cha championships that showed that he was very well-rounded. He became a child actor under his father's expertise and soon voyaged to San Francisco to make a life for himself.
Because Bruce was often picked on and got in many fights during his studies at LaSalle College, which was a Catholic English-speaking school, he asked his parents to enroll him in martial arts school. Bruce began to study under Master Ip Man in 1953. During this time, Bruce often would go out looking for fights and was well known by the Hong Kong police. Because of his reputation as a troublemaker, Bruce was even eventually expelled from LaSalle. In 1958, a fight was arranged on a rooftop with students from a rival Wing Chun school known as Choi Lee Foot. Because the boy Bruce was fighting hit him with an unfair punch, Bruce lashed out and beat the boy badly. The boy's tooth was knocked out. Bruce Lee opened his studio named the Jun Fan Kung Fu Institute in 1963. There is where he taught students in order to make a living in America, and also where he would meet his future wife, Linda Emery. Bruce Lee was later challenged by leaders of the martial arts community the following year because they did not like him teaching martial arts to non-Chinese students. He won their challenge by defeating Wang Jiakman, a kung fu master who recently arrived in America from China. After his fight with Master Wang, Bruce created his own style of martial art called Jeet Kune Do. This form was developed to be more realistic as to what you would expect in a fight, so the standard forms of martial arts were not heavily emphasized. Bruce had said that if someone attacks you, your first response is not technique. Instead, you simply move in like sound and echo without any deliberation. In other words, the proper method is the one that works.
Bruce Lee's father was a famous Cantonese opera singer, and as a result, he was exposed to life in the limelight. As a child, he appeared in numerous movies, including the film Golden Gate Girl. By the time he was 18 years old, he had already appeared in 18 films. However, his acting career never really took off until 1964, when he attended a martial arts exhibition where he met the famous TV producer William Dozier. After his meeting with Dozier, he was invited to audition for a pilot of the TV show Number One Son. The show never aired, but he was later invited to star in The Green Hornet. He also had TV roles in Batman, Ironside, Here Comes the Brides, Blondie, and Longstreet. By this time, Lee had become largely popular and had an increasing fan base. He decided to return to Hong Kong, where he met the well-known producer Raymond Chow. Chow offered Lee the main role in his 1971 film, The Big Boss, and from then on, his career as a Hollywood martial arts actor took off. In addition to acting, he started his own production company called Concord Productions, where he started writing and directing films. Some of his major films include The Big Boss in 1971, Fist of Fury in 1972, Way of the Dragon, where he directed and wrote the script in 1972, Enter the Dragon in 1973, and The Game of Death in 1973.
On May 10, 1973, Bruce Lee was doing dubbing for his film Enter the Dragon. On this day, he was suffering from headaches and seizures. Because of his condition, Bruce Lee was rushed to the hospital, to the Hong Kong Baptist Hospital, where he was treated. On the day of his death 1 month later, July 20th, 1973, Bruce Lee met with producer Raymond Chow to work on the film Game of Death. They worked until 4 p.m., after which Raymond Chow took Bruce Lee to Betty Ting's house to rehearse the script. Later, Bruce Lee complained about headaches and seizures, and Ting gave him a painkiller and a drug which contained aspirin and a muscle relaxant. Then, at 7:30 p.m. on this day, Bruce Lee took a nap from which he never woke up. Bruce Lee, at the time of his death, was 32 years old. Today, Bruce Lee is interred in Seattle, Washington at Lakeview Cemetery, next to his son, who himself had a premature death. Today, Bruce Lee is still well regarded in Western and Eastern cultures. Lee's influence on Hong Kong cinema was enormous as he popularized the genre of martial arts cinema to the entire world. For such influence, the Bruce Lee Fan Club of Hong Kong in 2005 raised $100,000 to build a statue of him in front of the Tsim Sha Tsui waterfront in Hong Kong. In addition, Bruce Lee's home in 2009 was preserved forever as a tourist site by philanthropist Yu Panglin. In addition to these monuments, there are statues of him in Hollywood and a 7-foot statue of him in Guangzhou, China. Beyond Hong Kong, his influence is seen in Hollywood through such celebrities such as Chuck Norris and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who till this day follow Jeet Kune Do. The sport of MMA, which is popularized here in the West, uses philosophies from Jeet Kune Do, such as its free-form style and its emphasis on training the body and mind. Therefore, by some MMA athletes, he is considered the godfather of the sport. In addition, rappers and musicians such as Wu-Tang Clan and Fab 35 attribute their influence in music to the philosophy of Jeet Kune Do and its free-form style. Therefore, Bruce Lee's influence will continue to go on, breaking cultural barriers from now and long after his death.